Hi, everybody. This is another edition of Tea Time. It has been forever, but that's okay. This is my friend Michal, and today we're going to talk kind of about like the political landscape of America, which sounds lofty, but it's really just going to be me and Michal talking about how we feel, and that's just what we do anyway. So, yeah. Okay. So. Let's see. Where could we start? Anyway, we had started the conversation that we were currently having because we were talking about all the abortion bans that are going on, the Plan B bans, the attack on like condoms, which is insane. Like that's unhinged behavior, and it's out of control. The fact that like all these things that people have spent their whole lives trying to like secure are just being undone by foolishness. Like, I just don't see who really benefits by a whole bunch of unwanted babies.
No one. No one. They have their own unwanted babies.
Ooh.
That they get rid of.
Ooh, that's true.
Yes.
Because it's not them who's gonna struggle to find like under the table abortions.
At all.
It's gonna be like poor people. It's like, let's look at your daughter. And see what's in her closet.
Last time I saw her, she had a little bit of belly.
Yeah.
She just lost weight.
That's wild.
Like, that's crazy.
It is. And I just don't understand why you would even... Like, condoms? I saw on Twitter somebody was like, okay, so STDs just don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
But, I mean, y'all was out here raw dogging, like, COVID. So I feel like...
They were like, y'all raw dog everything. That's terrible, though.
It is. Because why would you do that? And they were so scared of the AIDS, epidemic. But now it's totally cool for everybody to just be out here.
That's gone. Just like COVID.
Slapping it loose.
Like, we don't talk about it. It's gone.
It's like,
terrible.
It's not true. Like, it's not
at all.
It's not true. And I just think that's so deeply upsetting. And it's upsetting too because we're half of the population. And now, like in today's world, it's not only women. Women are not the only ones who have, like, people at this point now have abortions. So it's still affecting you.
Right.
It's still in your neighborhood.
But they're banning, like, transgender type, like, procedures too. Like, so they're like I heard a 16-year-old trans girl just got taken from her parents.
That's wild.
Because she's trans.
I did hear that, like, people were starting to have debates about children and whether or not how parents should behave when it comes to like transgender children and whether that's child abuse. Now, I will say, and this might not be a popular opinion, I don't know if I think that children need to have gender change surgeries, but I think that you being supportive of your child, like, nothing's irreparably changed or damaged by you buying your child the kind of clothes that they want to wear.
That's very true.
I think as long as it doesn't harm the child, like maybe there's some sorts of like bandaging and like there's a whole word for it, but I'm not thinking of it right. Anyway, anything that augments the body, I can understand being like, let's not do that, because people are like, well, what if the kid changes its mind? And people are like, that's not a thing. But it is. Children try things and they change their mind and they explore and experience new things. So I do think that nothing should be necessarily permanent. Just like we don't give, like, nothing's wrong with tattoos, but maybe we don't give them to kids, you know? You give them the ones that can come off if they decide they change their mind.
There's people are saying, like, it's okay to give them hormones because you can stop taking hormones. Like, it doesn't really, it changes your body, but it doesn't change it in the fact that if you stop taking them, you will no longer be, like, how you were born. Yeah. And so, like, and there's a lot of people who transitions as children who not rarely did any of my friends change their mind. It was only like outside sources that made them change their mind.
That's true.
So it was like their parents saying, why are you like this, blah blah blah. Yeah. That made them go, you know what, never mind. Right. I'm a boy. Yeah. And that's the only reason, like, half of them change it. Or, like, it's just society saying, are you sure? Are you sure? That made them doubt.
Yeah.
But I see where you're coming from, too, though.
Yeah,
and it's
where
like,
you just don't, like, you don't know, and you try different things on, and as you go through life, at least in my personal experience, as I've gone through life, my understanding of myself has opened up, and what I'm allowed to be and what I'm allowed to do. My relationship to gender has changed as I've grown up. So where I probably would have been like, oh, being a woman or being a girl is so confining, and would have just been really like trying to reject that, I have seen the ways that I'm allowed to rebuff and rebel and redefine, like, for myself. And I think that as a parent, your job is to give your child what they need to be able to do those things sustainably. And I think if they are allowed to change themselves in a permanent way, it doesn't really allow them to do that.
Figure it out.
Yeah, because if you teach your child that gender is a construct, then they get to put on and determine what gender looks like to them or doesn't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just always thought that that was interesting too. But yeah, what else did we talk about? We talked about that. We talked about poor white people. Where it's just, they just bought the lie, like hook and sinker, that, you know, like, the whiteness was gonna save you.
Yeah.
And it's not saving you. And the fact, what kills me is when old dude was first nominated. I don't say his name because he's like Voldemort to me. I don't say it. I feel no need. I just say that one, or old dude, a man over there. I just don't give him any sort of credence or credit at all. But like, when he was elected the first time, I was obviously distraught, obviously upset. But I went through it and I was like, okay, everybody gonna see that this was hot garbage. Everybody gonna see, even the ones who are like, no, he's joking, no, he's gonna change it, he's gonna run America like a business, he's gonna, like, take care of us, like. And I was like, y'all gonna see, it's gonna be his whole presidency, and he did not take care of y'all. Why are we still seeing signs? Why are we still seeing
Trump
signs?
2020, it's 2022.
And 2024. I'm like, what are you talking about? What did you get?
Thanks, Biden. like, come on.
No sense of critique. And I feel like it has a lot to do with the fact that he's rich. I feel like it has a lot to do with the fact that he's irreverent, because I think that there's so many poor white people who are like, oh, I miss being able to say what the heck I wanted to say. Yeah. And I like that he does that. And it's like, no, because he's also talking trash about you.
He doesn't have fans. He has stands.
That's
like,
real.
You know, people who, like, make, like, the reels of their favorite celebrities?
Yeah.
I bet you somewhere there's one of them.
There's a fan cam. Absolutely.
Yes. And that terrifies me.
It is terrifying because there's no critical engagement with it.
At all.
There can be no wrong.
It's just blind following.
It is. It's very cult-like. Which is...
What did he put in their water? Like, every time he visited.
Every rally, it's like... You're like, y'all look like y'all are being dosed. Like, are you
They're
okay?
Like, the praise look in their eyes.
Definitely.
Like, cheering.
Definitely. And, this is not to... Obviously, not all poor white people. And obviously... But... I just think, especially when it comes to, like, poor white women, come on, y'all.
They feed them the lies.
So many of them, and it's not okay, because you're
the one getting hurt. I won't say the most, but significantly
of your community.
Yeah,
absolutely,
significantly.
Absolutely,
like, you're getting hurt, and you don't know until it's time for you to use what you needed,
right?
Like the abortion clinics. Until it's time for you to actually need, and they're not just abortion clinics. Like,
they're just care. They're care clinics.
Until you need them,
right?
You're like, this is terrible.
Exactly.
You can't be like this. Blah, blah. And they're the ones teaching you and helping you, like, how to take better care of yourself.
And I think that there's so many things that are like wrapped up in this. There's the fact that, like, we as women are not taught to care for our bodies. We're taught that our body, like, we're not taught bodily autonomy, and we're certainly not taught bodily love, right? At the very least, we're taught, like, the most natural thing about us, and natural things about us are disgusting. Are things that should be hidden? Are things that should be whispered about? There's also, like, if you look at it from the Christian perspective, which is where a lot of these arguments are coming from, a lot of the issues that we're currently facing are because Christianity has been either misrepresented or has represented itself poorly.
Very much so.
Because if you look at it, where it's like, oh, killing is bad, and God said no killing, but like God didn't say anything about killing the baby that's inside of you. And if you look too, I watched this interview where people from the Jewish community and like I think the Muslim community and the Christmas community, they were all talking, and the Jewish people were like, nope, y'all didn't say anything about this. This is chill. The Muslim people were like, nope, God didn't say anything about this. This is chill.
And they're part of the Islamic religion.
Like, like we are just the next step. We're just the next iteration.
Yeah.
And I think we have to acknowledge the fact that like the Bible and the church have sold themselves as without reproach. And it's not true. You have to critically engage with everything that's in your life. It is true that the Bible was translated. It is true that the Bible is interpreted. It is true that pastors are people. It is true that God never wrote a single Bible verse.
And that's flaw.
Right, like
none of them is perfect.
At the very least, there's room for error, right?
Yeah.
And there's no argument and there's no conversation about how, because what if you're wrong, right? And let's just entertain the idea of what happens if you're wrong. Who have you hurt by interpreting this way? Which is why when I look at like radical black womanist pastors on Instagram, they're always like, you have to pay attention to who benefits from you believing this, who benefits from you hating your body, who benefits from you feeling that there's a separation between you and God, who benefits from you feeling that your body and your spirit are two separate things and that your flesh is evil and all this other stuff. It's corporations and it's the government and it's white men and it's people whose life and livelihood are built on your oppression and your self-hate and your inability or lack of feeling secure enough to speak up for yourself. And that's not cool.
If you believe it, you're going to preach it for them. Now they don't have
100%. And you'll police yourself.
You're going to teach your daughters the same thing.
100%.
And they don't have to do it.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's insane. And so we're looking at a world right now where I'm frustrated because I'm like, we should be past this. This shouldn't even be.
Why do I feel like I'm in 1922? I'm depressed.
Anxious. Because I'm like, oh, what's coming now? Because I swear.
I can't drink. I'm under 21. That's the joke.
That is the joke. I am not. I can't drink. But in fact, I'm probably drinking too much because I'm like, oh, here they go again.
Another one.
And it's just across the board where you're like, this just don't make no sense. Like, could y'all just try to make some sense? If you're at least going to regulate and police people, please make sense while you do it. And I'm just sick of it not making any daggum sense. Because it just doesn't get. We were talking also earlier about student loans and how if you look in the comment section of anybody on Twitter who's like, cancel these student loans, there's always somebody who's like, I already paid mine back. If you weren't going to pay your stuff back, then you shouldn't have signed up for the student loans. And I was talking to Michal earlier, I was like, 18-year-olds are the ones who are being asked to sign up for student loans and to sign up for the military, but they're not old enough or mature enough to drink. That doesn't make any sense. That's confusing. She said they raised the age of smoking. Wait a minute. So they can't be trusted to take care of their bodies. Why are they being trusted to like
sell it?
Basically,
to sell your body,
to sell your mind, to sell your future, your bodily autonomy. Because people have like already done studies. Being in debt is bad for your health. It's bad for you. And so we're selling 18-year-olds this hope and this dream and this prayer, which is growing increasingly more impossible to obtain, right? It's always, we were talking earlier, it's always the people who paid off their student loans before God made the sun that
dinosaurs took their first step. And they talk about I paid mine. It was $28,000 after interest.
What?
Ma'am, that's a semester now.
Also, your interest rate was 0.2. Like, it was, your interest rate was like, maybe think about giving us an extra $1. Like, it's not, our interest rate.
Can you help the poor?
Is that your middle cup?
Can you help the poor, please? I need 50 more cents.
It's insane. And you also I don't think, have the same level of predatory lenders. Not to mention the fact them fools didn't have the same level of access to you. No. You had what, a landline back in the day that you could screen messages on. These people
everywhere,
all on your
social
phone,
media,
your mama's phone, your social media. They at your job. Like,
you pass by McDonald's.
Wasn't nobody bothering you at the post office in 1946 about your student loans?
Do you want to join the military to pay your student loans? I'm doing both. You're selling me both at the same time.
In the gig economy, right?
Yeah.
So there's no guarantee I'm even going to find. That's another thing, too. They're like, oh, millennials are so lazy, and like Gen Z is so lazy, and da-da-da-da. It's like, no, the job force that you went into, the workforce, doesn't exist the way that it existed for you, right? You had benefits. You had a 401k. You had health care and dental care and like da-da-da-da-da. They're not giving us that.
They say show up.
Listen, and they're confused why you show up and you go to work and you do the bare minimum. But if you don't take care of me, why would I feel the need to take care of you? And it's so entrenched in the higher generation or the older generation where they're like, you have to go to work and you go there early and you leave late. My mom does not get up from her desk like all day. And it's for what? And she was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't say that. Anyway, but God forbid this goes viral.
And your mom's like, now Karen, how would you say that?
Anyway,
putting my business out there.
Girl, so let me go back to the important part. Hypothetically, I feel that you see constantly in our parents' lives that the corporations that they work for don't actually care about them
at all.
And then they give so much of themselves. They're weary, they wear out their bodies, their minds, their spirits, their familial relationships. And it's like, what did you paid your bills, but you can pay your bills for the bare minimum.
Like, my mom always tells this story about, like, she used to be a manager at Burger King, and she always tells the story about how I didn't see her for so many days that I ended up calling Burger King to make sure she was alive. Because she would leave for work before we left for school, and then not come home until after we've gone to bed.
Yeah.
And then leave again for work before we go to school. There's only 3 hours in between these times.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not a lot of time for her to sleep, to eat. Like, she would eat at work or on her way home and try not to fall asleep behind the wheel and all this other stuff. Like, that's crazy. And then it's like, now they're like, you're being lazy because you don't want to be a manager. She's like, I've lived that life.
Right. And it didn't give what y'all said it was going to give. All it was more responsibility, which was not in, like, it didn't correspond to the money I got.
At all. And
it's terrible. I feel like this is probably good for this episode and that we should say goodbye now.
And then the moral is, it's terrible out here.
That's not my moral.
You shouldn't work.
You shouldn't vote.
You shouldn't vote.
No, that's not our moral. That is not the moral of our story. The moral of our story, for me anyway, is for you to be critically aware, critically engaged, and make sure you're paying attention to who benefits from you not living your best life. That is the moral of my story. You have.
I also agree. I was just joking.
Bye, y'all.